Wow, so here we are. Welcome, Facebook. Here we are. It is Wednesday, the 30th of March. We've made it. We are through March. Welcome, everyone. I'm Heidi Ferguson. Next to me in blue is Fadesta Ramsey. And sitting cozy on her couch is Lindsay Mann. We have Lindsay Mann back today. It's a new moon tomorrow, so we're going to be talking about the energies of the new moon in Aries and opening the records and everything that entails. So I'll start off with a check-in. So as you both probably know, over the weekend, Taylor Hawkins passed. Taylor Hawkins, the drummer of the Foo Fighters. And I have to say, it isn't often that a celebrity or someone well-known passes and I'm really affected. I mean, I'm affected, but I was just like, I just felt my heart was really hit hard. And I don't really even know the Foo Fighters music. I know them as people. Like, I've seen Dave Grohl interviewed with Taylor and whatnot, and I've just really appreciated the brotherhood, their relationship as friends, as bandmates. And so I'm just feeling into the loss of that, and how that might be affecting others. So the other thing that I wanted to share is that I recently have been asked to open my heart wider and to work on loving everyone. And I'm taking it in slowly because it's a lot. There's a lot to unfurl and unlayer and all that. And I will say, as I've been sitting with it, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna bite off as much as I can chew at a time. I'm not gonna try to engulf the whole world because that would be ridiculous and completely impossible. But yeah, I feel like we are all really feeling, and we've been feeling for a while, the division of the world in whatever capacity. Like, there are many contexts that we're divided by. And I'm like, I want more love for myself, for humanity as a whole. And then the other thing that I want to say is that love is different than like. I'm just going to say it. I do not like everybody, nor do I expect everybody to like me. And I don't want everyone to like me. It's okay. And so, but I know that I can love everyone, because that energy feels very different to me. So I think I'm going to stop there with my check-in. That was a lot, Heidi. Wow. Yeah, that was a lot. So I'm just going to take a breath. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Lindsay, I'd love to offer you up the space for a check-in and whatever you want to be seen in as our honored guest today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And Heidi, I was just so deep in your check-in. So many things were coming to mind, and I am really feeling like a lot in my heart as you were speaking. In about Taylor Hawkins, the loss of Taylor Hawkins, and Foo Fighters have been so dear to my heart throughout my life and so crucial in my formative years. So I also feel that punch, that pain. And I agree that the brotherhood, that the group, the brotherhood, what they've created together for the world. Yeah. And in your share of, wanting to love everyone, it's reminding me of the interview that you sent Farishta and I during the week of Jon Stewart and Cory Booker. And gosh, like I have so much respect for wanting to have love for everyone. And I think in hearing your share and then thinking back to Cory Booker's conversation, like I think you have to hear it in certain wording in order to be able to grasp the concept of that, right? Especially if, you know, we are experiencing so much division and so much other sides and resentments and things like that. And like currently, and it takes a lot to get to that place. And it's interesting when you share that. For me, I feel like, you know, maybe I'm not in that season, unfortunately. And I feel like the reason is like, I'm starting to realize like I spent so much of my life in that unconditional loving space and taking responsibility when, you know, my boundaries were crossed. And I would love unconditionally people that perhaps didn't deserve my love, my showing up, my friendship, my attention. And so for me, I feel that I've like drained so much of my life force that for me to think of loving everyone for the, like now in my life, I'm like, no, like I'm in a place where I'm like, no, like, and to be like really kind of crude about it, as the season in my life that I'm in, I had to kind of allow myself to say things like, I hate people, I hate everybody. And like I had to like live into that for a little bit. And you know, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't really last. But sometimes it has to kind of come out. If you've never said it, you know, if you've never allowed yourself to like believe that. And I want to be in that place once this season passes in me. And I hear your distinction in saying like versus love. Don't have to like everyone. Everyone doesn't have to like me, but love. And I think it really is around like, what is that definition of love? Can you accept people for who they are? Can you accept and move forward? Can you accept and move on? Can you have peace with the fact whether or not, you know, if there was great harm done at some point for yourself, you know, you need to have this sense of peace. And then forgiveness is a whole nother level of it, right? And I think love is that, you know, it's not, I have to love you, I have to like you know? And so I appreciate you sharing that because it's giving me a little bit of a new definition and a new perspective around that so that I don't feel so much like, not everybody deserves my love, you know, like, you know, it's kind of like, okay, well, if you look at this definition of love, it's really about that, you know, like peace, acceptance, you go your way, I go my way, I send you love, I wish you well, go in that direction. I'm going to go in this direction, you know? So I felt a lot in your share. I felt really connected in your share. And for me, my like main thing is I just came out of like another kind of transition of being in a little bit of a funk, not knowing where things are going in my life and getting really aggravated and frustrated. And then being in the surrender of like, wait, the void is the juicy opportunity. Can you just kind of like stop trying, stop working so hard, stop kicking dead horses and just chill? Can you actually let yourself not be productive, capitalistic brain, working all the time, just chill and see what's shifting? And in a couple of days, I started seeing the new. And so I'll stop there because I think that pertains to our Aries new moon, astrological new year, all of that. So we'll get to that. So that's where I'm at. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Damn, women. I'm already just like juiced up hearing you both and this speak of love and acceptance and then like the real like no, yeah, I'm also not ready for that right now or that's not my season. I love both edges of that. It makes me think of personhood versus behavior, right? Like if I think of the 5-year-old in everyone, I can soften my heart and feel love, like just the sweetness of the 5-year-olds. And then I can also be like, and your behavior, we're not simpatico. Like, So just dancing between those two places of, I know the light in you, I know the sweetness in you, and right now you are not representing that. So then what, right? In terms of boundaries. So thank you. It feels like a rich conversation that's already taking root in my heart. And check in. Well, I loved this conversation about the Foo Fighters. I'm sitting here looking at us in the sisterhood, talking about the brotherhood. And that feels really sweet to me because I know for me, knowing the value of this, I can understand the value of that, even if I'm not ever going to be part of the brotherhood in this incarnation anyway, right? So yeah, relating, but from a place that's different. And then as someone who's had bandmates, absolutely relating to the amount of hours, the amount of couch crashing, the amount of family that equates to. And yeah, my heart goes out to just every fan too, who like you, Lindsay, feel punched in the heart by that as well, feeling the loss together. There's something beautiful about that to me. Feeling the loss together, the collective grieving. So thank you for that. What's alive for me? I have felt like I've been in a blender for months, just emotionally. I don't know what the hell happened, but somehow this week, and I'm ovulating, so we'll just put that out there. It feels like big expansion, big fluffy wings, big like fire underneath, like jet propulsion energy of just wanting to just take all of that gorgeous energy and just put it into ways I can serve. That's what it feels like. And I'm grateful for this like big fire because the things I want to do are going to take focus and tenacity, whether it's writing a book or speaking engagements or teaching or coaching. And it's like, cool, I can use from this fire. Then I had a Buddhist friend this morning say, and this fire will pass and you'll be in some state of like blah, 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 blah again, and then it'll come back. So I think just the realistic approach of like, cool, harness this, but also don't expect this all the time to be this infinite fountain, but start some things while you are in this super generator mode. So that when the fire does dwindle, you have begun some things you can still give your heart to. And that's what it feels like. It's been really life affirming to go, the work I'm doing is the work that my heart is lit up by. I haven't had that since music. And music was a little convoluted because the music industry was, interjecting their stupidity on top of my artistry. And this feels very pure because I get to hold it. And I get to decide who gets to be a part of it. So it feels very freeing. And I just loved her being like, and I'm going to let you know, in 2 weeks, you might not want to do any of this. So like, use it while you've got it, which is really good reminder for my ever enthusiastic 9-year-old who's just like, just like, cool, use that. But just the sweet reality check of there are seasons.
Yeah, there are seasons to everything. And seasons amongst the seasons, right? Like, so thank you for that. That was really beautiful. And I want to go back to the shadow side of things, right? So you talked about, Fidessa, you talked about being in this space right now where you are feeling your impulse, you're wanting to serve, and this fire in your belly and this energy that you have, right? Where maybe a week ago you were like, ugh. And then your Buddhist friend says, and take advantage of this because in 2 weeks you might feel very different. So that's the light and the dark in a sense, right? And so we also talked about, you mentioned the hate, like without love, we can't have one without the other. And I'm going to share a little story, because I don't think I had the consciousness around that until I did this one piece of work in a therapy group that I was in, where I had been for a very long time working on my relationship with this person, and not in the group, just this person in my life that I've had this very tumultuous and challenging relationship. And the facilitator said to me, I want you to say this, which is, I hate, and then this person. And I said, I can't do that. And she's like, yeah, you can. And I want you to do it. She's like, because I know that you love this person, but there's also a part of you that hates this person. You cannot love them without hating them. And I'm like, and the other thing, the lie that I had grown up around, like that my belief was that if one hates someone or something, it means they want that person dead. Like that was my belief for decades. Like I really believed that. And so when I shared this with the facilitator, she's like, you're not God. You don't have that kind of power. And I'm like, okay. She's like, you can't kill anyone. And I'm like, enough said, right? Like talk about humbling. I'm like, got it. And so, I did this piece of work, which was really very moving, and it was physical and it was emotional and it was really, cathartic seems like the most obvious thing, but I was really kind of amazed and pleasantly surprised at how quickly the energy moved through, because I had been in this stuck place, like I almost making myself the victim, like, oh, this person, blah, 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 all this stuff. And she's like, you need to get this out of your system. She's like, this is what you're going to do. And anyway, so I'm mentioning that for those who are listening who may not be aware of the light and the dark of everything. But that's an important piece to all of our relationships. Can't have one without the other. There are many facets, many sides to everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that, because when I think of shadow work, it's about being able to live in the totality of our human experience. So it's the spectrum from deep, tender love to murderousness, right? Just allowing ourselves, doesn't mean you have to act on something or have your behavior be dysfunctional, but if it shows up, to not be in any kind of suppression of it.
Right.
And I know for me, I've had a deep disdain for world leaders recently for multiple reasons. And I would say verging on hatred, but I think more so like a deep frustration, right? Which beneath it is really hurt and pain. And so included in our separate prayers is not necessarily wanting ill will for them, but saying, and I hope the leaders that are available for transformation right now receive their transformation, so they can be compassionate leaders. Because for me to keep feeling vitriol, it was weakening me, right? So it was like, how do I turn this into, actually what I really want is for these people to get their heads out of their asses and get an empathy coach and figure out who they serve and who they should be, or who they need to become to serve well. So that's my prayer. You know what I mean? It's not clean and perfect. It still has a little bit of teeth in it, but that's what I can do right now. That's my capacity. Isn't like, oh, kumbaya, I love all these leaders who are doing awful things in our world. But it's like, boy, I hope somebody checks you with loving firmness and you're available to listen. So just naming a different way it could look than pure light and love.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of the light and love shit. I'm just going to say it. I'm like, when people write, when there's been a catastrophe, and people are like sending light and love. I'm not discounting it, because I know it's important and I believe in it. Like, I believe in prayer and I believe in all that. But sometimes it almost seems trite. And, or as if they don't have anything else to say. Where I would much rather either see nothing, I mean, not nothing, but I would rather someone just be like, look, I'm feeling this. I'm scared. I hate what's happening. I hate this person because they're creating this. Whatever it is, like, I would rather see more realness and honesty, as opposed to light and love, prayer hands, heart. I mean, I just feel like if humans, if we decide not only that we're going to be better, but we're going to be better because we're being honest. I will have more respect. I would have a lot more respect for someone who chooses to live that way than que sera, sera. Because considering what's happening, and there's a lot going on right now, and it just seems to compound and compound, and there just seems to be more and more. Yeah, we gotta move beyond the light and love. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing it can be included, but on its own, it can be anemic without the fierce love.
Yeah.
That is moral courage. That's action. That's, watching Cory Booker talk about courageous empathy and moral imagination and like a conscience. It's like, oh, yeah, we actually need to be in action too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Lindsay, how about you? What's landing for you, if anything, or anything you want to add?
I feel like so much is happening at once in this conversation that I don't even know what to say or where to jump in, to be honest. So I feel like I would need a prompt because this is a very loaded emotional conversation for me, I think,
Yeah, I can give you a prompt. I guess what do you feel fierce love would look like, for you or this world right now?
Ooh, the crossover of differences, that leadership that we're lacking, the role models, the examples of two people with extreme differences having a conversation, just spilling their guts to each other, just sharing each other without one interrupting the other, one thinking they know better than the other, just listening to each other and learning from each other and growing. I think something like, throughout my life, I've realized that I have always had people in my life who were very different from me, opposite. And I saw that as a challenge. I appreciated the diversity and someone to learn from. And it was always for better or worse, right? But if someone was way too similar to me, that would kind of creep me out, like we're too alike, like that's no fun. Like the diversity, the growth comes from us being different. But I also, struggle with the fact that like so much of the division, is surface level without the recognition that we are so multifaceted. We are so deep and so complex. And we're not in these boxes, we're not in these squares, but we've just been so conditioned to look at each other, size each other up, put each other in a box. This is you, and I'm going to have nothing to do with you. And this is you, and I'm going to have nothing to do with you. And you said this in 1 minute of your life. So I'm going to sum up your entire existence and say that you're this person. And it's like, everyone is so quick to do all of this. And I think maybe that's why, like, I'm a very, very good listener. I've always been a very deep listener. And I can sit back and I can assess a situation and I can see the higher perspective of everything. I can also see the truth. I can see the ugliest stuff that's going on. I can see the darkness. I can see the whole picture. And I think when I say, like, right now I'm feeling like, I hate people, is that there is no tolerance, there is no patience, nobody's listening to anyone. Everyone's like on their soapbox or just like viciously attacking one another, and nothing is getting done. No one's moving forward. Everyone's blaming someone for this in their life and that in their life and that in their life. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. We have so much work to do. Can we please stop fighting? And maybe that's, you know, my own life experience of like fighting, being in the middle, trying to mediate everything. But when I'm just like, you know, at some point, you know, whether it's war or, you know, climate change, we're going to be on the same page at some point, but why don't we do it ahead of time? We need to prepare it now. But this fighting is a waste of time. People attacking each other and tearing each other down is ridiculous, and it's a complete waste of time. So that's when I say, like, I hate people. It's coming from this passion. It's coming from the sadness. It's coming from the frustration of like, we have way too much to do to have these superficial tit for tat. You're the reason my life is fucked up. It's like, no, take responsibility. Everyone has to take responsibility for themselves, regardless of your life circumstances. At some point, you have to do that to empower yourself to move forward. So I digress. Sorry, that really came up. Hey, Aries season.
No, that was fucking awesome. I feel your conviction, which is like, we got bigger fish to fry, people. Like, eye on the ball. I think that is the gift of the empaths, the highly sensitives, the intuitives, the healers, the coaches, a lot more than the bureaucrats at this point, the poets, right? The musicians, is to say, there's a bigger common ground. And there are people I could completely disagree with, but I'm willing to listen. You know, and that doesn't mean that's going to shake me from my stance, but I will allow for it. And I love that, being fierce love, that we can listen to each other, we can regulate ourselves when we disagree, we can endure our triggers when it bothers us, and we can hear someone out. I mean, that's a skill, that's a relational skill. And I hear you saying you want a more relational world, which I am all for, because that's a less traumatized world too. Boom.
I wanted to add that, so yes to all of that, Fedesta. And I too am really, like, when you were speaking, I was like, damn, Lindsay, yeah, girl. So we're going to be in disagreement. Like, humans I'm not always going to agree. However, we can listen with respect. And we can and we can choose. It really is a choice. We can choose to get along. And what seems to me like what has happened, just like our political divide, our racial divide, our divide with the shot, all of it, right? However we feel about war, whatever it is, there will always be at least two sides, typically many, many more facets. We're never all going to agree on everything. But one thing we can agree on is that even though I don't like you, I will respect you. I still respect you, because at the very core of who we are, we're human, and we deserve that. And so let's give that to ourselves. Let's give that to other people, because here's the thing: when we're not respecting someone else, we're not respecting ourselves. And we're hurting ourselves by disrespecting others more than we're hurting them. And I know that might feel and seem counterintuitive, but it's really true, because everything, all those energies come back and they slap us in the face in one way, shape, or form. So anyway, I'm noticing the time, and I want to see if we want to open the records. Are you ready for that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
And I want to just double check with both of you. Do you have some questions in mind, or do you want me to ask some general questions about the Aries new moon and how it's going to affect the collective? And maybe as I'm going, you can think of some questions.
Yeah.
So Aries new moon, I'll open the records on the Aries new moon. We'll get an opening message. And then anything that you guys might, I mean, I can pull out questions, but if you guys have something you're sitting on, just have them ready to rock.
I've got one, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'll just say the opening prayer. People can hear the opening prayer. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know the Aries new moon in the light of the Akashic Records, to see the Aries new moon through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of the Aries new moon have for it. The records are now open. So I was smiling because as I was saying the opening prayer, I started to feel this kind of like heat and dryness in my throat, and it was like fire. And they were showing me a dragon. And then they were also kind of like, you know, that thing you just did, like that's Aries new moon energy, you know, like cutting to the chase, being really direct, like that fire, right? Action, passion, you know, air. Anyway, I'm very clearly seeing a dragon breathing fire. So hello, opening visual. Welcome.
This might lead to my question, because as I was closing my eyes with you both, I was thinking, man, it's so nice to have pissed off empaths, because we can often be gentle, we can often be nurturing and loving and all those great qualities. And yet this fierce, like, protect what is sacred kind of wolf, I don't know, mama bear, coyote energy, right? Feels important right now, like the fierce feminine. So I'm curious, my question is, for the empaths of the world that often consider themselves meek to some degree, what is the call to action right now?
I said, how far to go? How far can you go? And here's what they're also saying. So they're basically saying, like, so they were showing the dragon, and the dragon was kind of wrapping itself around this mountain, like flying, circling this mountain. So when you were talking about protecting something fiercely, the dragon was protecting this mountain. So what does this mountain represent for, what does a mountain represent for everyone? The mountain, the strength, the groundedness, the land. Mountains with their high peaks can connect to God, like, you know, just connecting with the energy of mountains, and the dragon is protecting this mountain. But what they said was flat out, you are protected. You have protection. If you can understand, if you can remember, remind yourself that you are always protected. They're saying, like, the magnitude of your protection, if you knew that you were protected, how far would you go? What would you say? What would you do? And so right now they're saying that's where we're at. And they just said leadership. Leadership. There's a ship like floating in the sky, and they're kind of like leaders on this ship. They're saying new leadership. Okay.
Damn. Yeah, because I'm all for compassionate leadership, and that to me is the front lines for empaths and sensitive and relational people. I don't want to leave them out. People who want to be relational. So thank you. It's really affirming. I'd go much farther than I'm going if I knew I was fiercely protected.
Right? Yeah. And they're kind of giving this sense of just like, it's not big talking heads on the television screen. It's not world leaders. It's not about politics. It's everyday people. You are the leaders. The new leadership is within the masses. It's within the people. It's individual. And so they kind of want to say, like, don't have these, like, they're kind of saying like grandiose expectations of being seen and heard, like how our culture has celebrated politicians and celebrity. They're basically saying like no airtime, like, and they're actually saying it's a blessing not to be seen on that scale, because you get stopped by the millions of projections of other people's. That platform actually blocks you and gets in your way of doing what you really need to do. So it's actually more powerful, more effective, more efficient, and more possible when everybody, the people, the masses, the populations, we do that ourselves. And they're kind of like, stop expecting this idea of being seen and heard. Like they're even saying like, even the level of acknowledgement. Stop expecting acknowledgement for your leadership. Just be the leader. Just take the lead. Take the lead. And it doesn't matter if someone calls you a leader, just be a leader. They're like in your pathway. Just do it.
That's so exciting. Heidi, you had a question?
I do have a question. So for those who are like on the precipice of feeling this fire in their bellies to move towards, or they're seeing a vision to, you know, go into leadership in whatever capacity that is, and they're feeling this, and there's some push and pull energy to it. How can, yeah, what is it that person might need to know to persevere, to move forward?
So as you're talking, I'm getting like almost like the nervousness in my gut, in my stomach, to kind of step into, to do the next thing, or to step into a position, a leadership role, to kind of get it out, right? To take the first step, and the pressure. And so I'm like feeling it in my gut, like, oh my God, I'm so nervous, I could puke, right? Like I'm so nervous. They're kind of just like, then puke. You're gonna feel better afterwards. But it's kind of like, just do it. And they're almost saying like that clump, that feeling that kind of holds you back, that thing, whether you do the thing and it's messy, you do the thing and it's like such a disaster, you do the thing, whatever, you have to just get that first little hump, just get over whatever that first little thing is, and you're going to instantly just feel better, like, oh, I did it. Like, even if it didn't go the way that you wanted it to, even if you didn't get what you wanted from this stepping into this role or saying this thing or whatever it is, they're kind of just saying like, bleh, and then keep it moving. Like, it's okay. Because what they're actually showing is like we kind of like, this thing builds up so big, and like, it's so big in our heads, like it's so big and it means the world, it means everything to us. And so it's kind of like we like almost like vomit out the stress of what we've been feeling. But the reality is, as big as we make it in our heads, it's like a blip in like the timeline of your life. It's a blip in the universe, in the world, in, you know, other people's experiences. They're kind of just saying like, it's almost like unnoticeable. But because we build it up so big in our heads, we think it's so much bigger, but they're just saying it's unnoticeable. So just let that mess, let the disaster happen and kind of laugh it off, let it go, whatever. But just remind yourself that in this like long timeline of like your whole life or lifetimes, it doesn't mean anything to mess up. They're kind of like, oh, I messed up, you know, or whatever. Or just maybe you don't. But it's like, we build it up to be so much bigger than it is.
Thank you.
But kind of just saying like, have an allowance of that whole experience, because it's almost like you built it up, like if we build the things up so much, it becomes this block where it needs to be a release anyway.
Or do you have another question, Fenesta?
I do. Either way, totally fine.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So this one, of course, I want to pivot to relationships. What I'm seeing in my world and in my couples that I coach is fire. So either it's the fire of stepping up, of stepping higher together, or it's the fire of incinerating old resentments, or it's the fire of just burning it all down. So I'm curious what the records have to say for relationships in the Aries new moon.
Okay, so there's a sexual energy in this. And I just want like the visual that they're giving is kind of like this, like fire. It's kind of like this, like fire under our asses, right? But it actually has more to do with like the sexuality, the creation, the expression of our sexuality, which is also, you know, connected to creation and creating. And they're showing this like fire, but the fire is cleansing and clearing. Like the fire is cleansing and clearing. And so they're kind of saying like in relationships, etc., ourselves, they're like individual, partnership, and collective, we need to have this clearing and this cleansing of our sexual relationships, of our sexual energy. And so they're almost kind of showing like, they're giving me a feeling of like, either there's something about like you just have this sexual connection with a partner and it's new and it's just like, whoa. And it just gives you all of that, like, kind of like, I don't know what to say. Like your life is like, I don't know. I'm getting like cleaning and clearing and cleansing, but it comes from a place of fire and sexual energy. And they're saying sexual revolution. So I don't know if this is something else that's kind of like going on, but that part of the sexual revolution is that we need that new fire. Like we need that new fire, whether that's in an existing relationship and you kind of clean slate and you start fresh, but it feels like it has to do with like the root and sacral chakras being lit up, you know, and that's our base, you know, red, orange, yellow. Like we need that root, that's ground, that's earth energy, that's our human vessel. That's our, you know, that's the fire. So it seems like that part of us needs to be cleansed and cleared and lit up. Like they're saying ignited. We need to ignite our sexual energy.
I also think of the root as like safety, needs, primal, alongside that sexual energy. So I'm curious about like, you know, is there also like, if relationships don't feel safe and secure, right? If there's insecure attachments, is that what the incinerator?
Yes. They're saying exactly like that's what's got to burn up, because what they're saying is like when we're talking about the root chakra, they're like, we need fearlessness there. And when you've got that, I mean, they keep showing the example of like a new partner or whatever, and this like crazy hot sexual energy, you feel fearless, you feel pretty unstoppable. And so they're kind of likening that energy to what needs to be happening. We need to have these vibrant, fiery, bright colored root chakras. Can't have the fear, right? And they're actually giving me the sense of like the clarity. They're showing me like the war in Ukraine, the realness of what's going on. Yes, the fear, but how quickly that fear turns into this power, this ignition of action. And then they're just showing like, you know, when that ignition of action is there, you're unstoppable, you're fearless. And that's what's happening for, you know, the people in Ukraine who are ignited to be united and to fight in this sense of fearlessness. So they're showing me that as an example of just saying that like it can be, you know, closed up. It can be a murky red, the root chakra, the red color, but sometimes even in the greatest of fear, you can still turn that back on. But they're emphasizing the word fearlessness and unstoppable.
Whew, thank you.
And that base root chakra, when that's really firing, it goes all the way up to the rest of the chakras. Everything's up. You're connected to earth, you're connected to spirit, you're connected to everything. And that's why you feel unstoppable and fearless, because it's clear. It's all clear. They're also saying that's when people unite. When we're all those people uniting together and fighting together, having this sense of fearlessness together, because you're firing on all cylinders in a healthy way.
I keep hearing 5D love, 5D love, 5D love. And that's all that's coming through. So it really has me curious. I'm like, I feel like that's a message for me, directly for me, just for whatever reason. I mean, I know why, but I'm also, because it's happening right now, I'm like, is there a connection to is this part of the reading? So I'm just putting that out there.
So is 5D love connected to the reading? Yes, absolutely. So they're saying, so the 5D, they're just saying that intense atrocities, they're kind of saying like compound the dimensions to like work together. It's like there's so much like complex, it all kind of like comes together. And so they're just saying that like the 5D is like, they're kind of saying overactive. It's like right here. It's like really pressed into earthly realm. And part of that is, throwing your hands up in the air. Where are the leaders? Who's getting us out of this? And it's like, so like, when things are so bad, all you can do is look up to God, or the stars, or your passed on loved ones, or spirit. When things are so bad and you're like, this can't be, this is so merciless, this cannot be happening, who the fuck is in charge? And then everyone's just like looking up. We're looking up at this. We find our connection to the 5D. We find our connection to spirit, to God. We start reaching for religion. We start hearing our passed on loved ones, and we start recognizing, oh, there is an order. There is support in the unseen. So they're saying absolutely, like the 5D love is that the 5D is loving on us right now. Like, hey, we're here, it's here. Lean on us, talk to us, support, it's right here. But it's because we're in this space of desperation. They're kind of saying like more people are in the space of desperation. And so more people are connecting to the 5D, connecting to it for the first time. And then, I hate to overuse the word, but like they're saying awakening to the 5D, to the fifth dimension, to other realms. They're saying support system, the support system. And it's kind of like that you didn't believe it. You didn't believe in this, and now shit hit the fan and you're like, oh my God, it's real.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes that for people to believe in spirit,
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be brought to your knees.
Right.
Face death, but also it's facing death, connecting with the energy of the reality and, the possibilities of death when it's right there. It's like, it's in your awareness. And so then you are open to the possibilities of it. You're open to it. And then you can start connecting and receiving information. we only cut it off when we're like, I don't believe in that. That doesn't mean anything. That's what cuts it off, is pretending, like acting like you don't believe, to closing your
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this also, because I think a lot about people's mental health over the last few years. What are conduits towards the 5D? I heard the stars, which I love as a way in spirit. But for those who are really struggling right now with their emotional health, their mental health, what are ways that they can very practically access some of that energy right now? If it's like, it might be their first step or their third step, right?
So they're saying like really, really simple, like the simplest thing, the simplest way to connect. They're showing someone laying down on the ground on the earth, right? So I'm feeling like you soft grass, a park somewhere, lying down on the ground, breathing in fresh air and looking at the stars. That's gonna help you feel, they're kind of saying, more balanced. They're like, if there's nothing else you can do, like get yourself to that position, that place. But it's like, I need to breathe in fresh air. You know, I need to be supported on my back. I need to feel the ground supporting my entire body. And then looking up at the stars. And it's the looking up at the stars, and they're kind of saying, wishing well, like make your wishes, like your prayers, like talk to the sky, talk to the stars. Like if that's all you can do, like that's the most important thing to do. They're they're saying alone.
Pardon?
They're saying alone. Go do that alone.
Yeah. I love the simplicity of that. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot of, I'm just feeling the support of imagining myself doing that. And also for someone who is a little more seasoned to, because I literally can snap my fingers and I'm connected. So for me, someone who's a little more seasoned, imagining myself, like if I ever get lost, and I'm using, that in a different context, but if I ever get lost or move away from, to know that that's where I can go. I love that so much. It's very comforting. And yeah, so I'm receiving that with all the ease. All of it. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Can I be super geeky before we close?
Please. We love this stuff.
My geeky neuroscience part's like, okay, what are the kinds of things people should be eating?
Okay.
To support staying out of that hindbrain, staying in the forebrain, being an executive function, all the important things right now, if you're struggling.
I just said like no fake shit. So they're kind of saying no fake shit because it's tricky on your brain and your body. It confuses you. It kind of messes with your wires. And so they're saying like fresh fruits, clean vegetables, drinking clear water, and obviously like it's challenging. Some of us don't have access to that. And that's always heartbreaking when that's the most important thing. And we know that people don't have access to real food. But that's what they're saying. And the reason they're saying it is because they're saying of the earth, and it's clean and it's clear and it's trying to help you be clean and clear. So they're showing like I'm like eating a papaya or a mango, a melon, and the sweetness of that and the freshness of that. They're really showing me melons. But they're saying fresh fruits. There's something about the sweetness, kind of like it's not refined sugar, right? It's natural sugars. And so it does the right things for your brain. It doesn't scramble your brain. It doesn't make you angry. It doesn't make you irritated like refined sugars do. It doesn't, kind of cause this chaos. But they're kind of saying, yeah, that's really, they're kind of repeating fresh fruits and veggies, real food, but they're saying no fake shit. Like try and stay away from fake processed foods. For mental health, they're saying mental and emotional stability. They're kind of saying start there. They're kind of showing like, okay, like, yes, you get your therapist, your psychiatrist, your psychologist, like you get all your people, but they're like, if you don't have that there, there's only so much they can do. They're just throwing band-aids on the problem, but really like they're actually kind of saying like so much of our mental and emotional stuff, they're saying except for like severe trauma, and they're saying like birth defects, like except for that, they're saying so much of it has to do with our food.
Yeah, so high vibrational food.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
they're saying bright colors too. They're kind of saying like eat bright colors, like if you're feeling kind of funky and whatever, like the bright colors, they'll do the magic on the inside. You know, you think they're bright and shiny and, you know, gorgeous and looking in your, like looking at it, they're like, that's what it does inside of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Lindsay. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Such a gift. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to close the records and then we'll finish up?
I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of God for all. Wait, hold on. They're showing me something. They're showing me a zipper of our brains. They wouldn't let me close. They're showing me a zipper of our heads. They're showing like zipping it up, zipping it closed. Oh, like kind of like stop focusing so much on your brain and your mind and just kind of like, there's something about just kind of like being out there. Don't like close up. There's something about closing up the brain. And
Maybe
just,
not letting input so much crap in too.
yeah, because it seems like someone just like left their head open, like, and it's like, close it. I don't know.
Are we supposed to feel like focus more on what we're feeling?
They're kind of like in your life. They're saying be in your life, not in your mind, not in your head. Be in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're like less thinking, more being, more active, more being out, being alive. They're like, be alive. They're like, be alive in your world, not alive in your head. Be alive in the world. Okay. Living. They're just like living, period. That's living. Okay. I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Thank you.
Holy shift. Thank you. So good.
It was really good. Yeah.
Do we want to pivot to like a chat pack or a question, Heidi, or do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a question. What is the best present you've ever received?
I have 3 coming up, so I'll be succinct.
Okay.
But they're all like raising their hands. One is my parents gifting me with like weeks in Europe, that I just wanted to solo travel amongst a work thing, and just being able to like adventure, explore, journal, just sort of float where I felt called. And then similarly, like they supported me making my record in Rio. So like the adventure of a lifetime to just get on a plane, go to Rio de Janeiro, shake hands with musicians, and be like, cool, we start tomorrow. Like, and make a record in 19 days with humans who are just like have music in their veins. Right? It was very different than, I would say, LA musicians who were like session players who showed up, played, were amazing. These are people who their whole culture was music. If they weren't playing in that studio, they would be playing somewhere. So that was a huge education. And then actually those are the two. Those are the two big ones. Were like dreams that came true. With the support of my parents being like, cool, that's what you want to do, like we'll support that.
Beautiful. Thanks. Lindsay?
I think I need a little bit of time to keep thinking.
Okay.
Heidi, how about you?
Okay. Well, I'm wearing one of them. So I'm one of these, I appreciate practical gifts. And a friend of mine, I'm going to say I probably had it for 12 years. And it's actually a fleece wrap. And it's two-sided. One side is black, the other side is red. And I mean, first, I loved it when I opened it, but I didn't realize how much I would use it. And I use it all the time. So I also have three things, and this was one of them. The other one is my parents also supporting me when I went to Rome. I studied in Rome for 6 months, and it was life-changing in a million ways. It was rich and fun and challenging, and I mean, yeah, it was a huge risk on my part, because for a lot of reasons. And then the other thing that I wanted to share, I didn't think of it as a gift as a child. It just began there. So my sister and I begged my parents for a piano. I think I was, I don't know, 9 or 10, maybe 8. I was pretty young. And my sister was a few years older. And we had gotten a taste of music in public schools, music class. And I loved my music teacher. I just adored her to pieces. And she just took a liking to me. And because I was just one of these students who I, for some reason, really took to understanding how to read music. Like, I just understood that this is a quarter note. This is a hat. Like, this is what they look like. It came very easy to me. I understood what a staff was. Like, I got it. And so my parents, they were like, yes, we'll get you a piano. And these are the stipulations. You cannot quit. We'll get you where you're going to get lessons, private lessons, and you cannot quit until you graduate high school. That's a long time. And you have to practice 30 minutes a day. At 8 or 9 years old, you do not realize what you're committing to. But what I will say is that it has just the language of music, like just reading music. I'm so appreciative of the ability to do that because it is a different language, and, they say it helps with math. I don't know if that's true for me, but and I also, appreciate, I'm a choral singer, so I appreciate singing amongst other singers. There's something about the vibrate, like just the sound vibration and what voices can create, the sound the voices can create. So yeah, it's kind of forayed into a lot of things. It's very layered.
That's so beautiful. So I was like struggling to think about it, and then I realized the greatest gift. So I've had so many incredible gifts, throughout my life, and I really treasure, the material gifts that people give. I honor and find meaning in so many things. So that's why I was struggling to think of like, well, what? I mean, there's so many things. And then I landed on the greatest gift that I ever received was my cat Bella for Christmas. So I had, this is in my mid 20s. I had a kitten named Polly. We rescued her and she became my cat. And my sister was in vet school in Michigan, Michigan State University. And while she was in vet school, she was saying that, you know, one of her first surgeries or something, she wanted to adopt that pet. And I had my pet Polly, and you know, my sister surprised me for Christmas with a cat to be her companion, and that was Bella. And the end of last fall, she passed away, and it was a very emotional experience. And I just think about how special that gift was. So, yeah.
Hmm.
I feel that, Lindsay. I feel tenderness for you hearing that, and
A companion, you know.
for so much of that walk of life. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And feel the love from you in those tears. And the gift you both are, just with your genuine hearts, like so meaningful to me that I get to see this part of you and be let in and be trusted. Like I feel really trusted. So I just want to name that as like an actual power gift in this life, is being let in, being included, and being able to not just receive love, but give love. I have a really hard time when people like reject the giving, and you two have done the work to receive. So thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, friend. Friends.
So good to be with you both always.
Yeah. Oh, I feel so nourished.
Mhm. Always,
My
always.
heart is full.
Same. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again soon.